Hello, hi everybody. Welcome to our BrewIN TeaVee episode number 9. We are very lucky to have with us a very special guest today, Bhamini from a Greenleaf Teahouse based in the Gold Coast. So there's a slight time difference. I'll go through a little bit about Bhamini and her tea business, and then she has 3 wonderful teas to show us, and we can explore this differences in some of their Indian terroirs and the nuances and the different characteristics they bring from each region. I'm very excited to try these because I don't know a lot about Indian teas, so I'm really excited. So Bhamini grew up in India. So she drank tea from a very early age, but it was really only when she sort of spent more time in Asia and lived in Malaysia and the Philippines that she sort of grew a little bit more curious to all the different teas that were available, and that I think kickstarted her tea journey to learn about teas in a more deeper way. She spent years exploring, studying, and sampling teas from all over the world. And then in 2018, she decided to embark on her tea dream, and she launched the Greenleaf Teahouse on the Gold Coast. So the Greenleaf Teahouse is a small family-run business, and it was started really just to offer easier access to a variety of really premium range, hand-picked, loose leaf, freshly harvested boutique teas from around the world, and she has quite a big selection of beautiful teas. Bhamini showcases these at a community market and workshops, and also through social media and her website. Bhamini also is the Gold Coast Australian Tea Cultural Society ambassador, and she's actively and enthusiastically involved in the tea community in lots of different ways, including BrewIN, this one, Laneway Tea Festival, and she does a women's Thai tea, just to name a few of the things she's involved in. When I met Bhamini in Melbourne at the Oztech seminar, I knew straight away I'd found a very genuine person. She was just so nice and welcoming, and spoke of her new tea business, and I just knew I'd sort of found a really lovely tea friend. And so I'm so excited that we can sit and have a nice chat together and explore these beautiful teas together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a lovely, warm welcome and introduction to me. I feel super special. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful. I think Oztech, gave us all an opportunity to meet people from all different parts of Australia. That's fantastic. Otherwise I wouldn't have met you. So it's good to be able to connect and to meet like-minded people. So I'm so excited.
Great. So where should we start, I think, with brewing your teas?
Yes, at first, I know when people think of Indian tea, they usually think of chai. And chai means a lot of things. In Australia, especially, the trend is for chai tea, and what that means is tea, because chai is an Indian word to mean tea. So the popular tea here is the Masala Chai. It has all the condiments, and that's what most of the Indian teas are known for. But what I wanted to do was to introduce you to something different. So different parts of India have got different kinds of loose leaf teas, which are not that popular in India itself, but most of the tea is exported. So I thought we could, they are all black teas, but I thought we could just sample some of the teas and see how they're different. And, they're all black teas, and how black teas can be different depending on where it's grown. So that's just a good conversation to have, and I think to make people aware that black tea doesn't mean it has to be, same tasting tea. I mean, as you know, Chinese black tea and Indian black tea is so different. So yes, I thought we'd start with maybe Nilgiri, that being the lightest, and it's very mellow as well. And then we'll move on to the Assam, which is once again known for its robust flavor. But this one is a single origin Assam tea, so the flavor is a bit different to what we are used to. And then we move on to Darjeeling, which is called the champagne of tea, and it has its own characteristics. So yeah, so first we could just start with Nilgiri. Put a kettle on.
Yes, sounds lovely. Okay.
So I've got all different kind of vessels. So the thing about Indian tea is it doesn't need to be complicated. Of course, you can have beautiful teapots. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I like tea to be simple. So if it's simple and practical, people will drink it more often. I mean, that's my mantra. So I'm going to use different teapots. So this is just a ceramic one. And I'm just going to put 2 teaspoons of the Nilgiri tea. And actually what I might do is I'll brew all the teas, and then we can just talk about the teas as we're going through it.
Okay, that sounds good. And what temperature did you say that we brew at?
So once again, another simple fact for all Indian teas, it is a boiling water. So same temperature, pretty much the same brewing time as well. So 3 to 4 minutes. I like to brew my teas for 4 minutes. So all 3 of them I'll be brewing for 4 minutes. So you can throw out your questions at me, Amanda, while I'm trying to brew. I am ready.
So I've got maybe, I think my teapot's about 200 mils. So yeah. I may not have to leave it as long.
So yes, so it's 1 teaspoon per cup. So if it's 200 ml, I would say 1 teaspoon maybe for 3 minutes instead of 4, because the normal cup is 250. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and of course I didn't do, and which I would always recommend. I think it was just the nerves getting the better of me. Always warm up your teapot before brewing. It helps because it maintains the temperature. Otherwise, if you put boiling water in a cold teapot, the water temperature drops as well. So that's another thing, and it's a nice way to get ready for drinking tea. So.
Yes, it's a nice little ritual, isn't it? Do you ever rinse these teas before drinking them?
No, you don't need to rinse them. It's different to the Chinese teas. You don't need to rinse them. You can just brew them straight away. So
yeah,
would you be putting a timer on?
Yep.
Amanda, if you could put a timer on, so then I don't lose track of what I'm doing.
2 minutes.
4 minutes, if it's okay.
4 minutes. Okay.
Just a little bit of information about the tea. So the Nilgiri tea, it's grown in southern part of India, and in Nilgiri, that mountain range, tea is grown throughout the year. So, and they actually have a lot of rainfall, and it's very humid, so it's kind of perfect for that environment. So, originally it was known for the CT seeds kind of tea, which is used in Masala Chai, but they also have tea estates where they focus on loose leaf single estate teas. So these teas are used for the CT seeds. They are used mainly for blends, and this particular tea that we are trying today, it's fantastic with even a slice of lemon, or if you want to make an iced tea with it, it doesn't cloud up at all. So I mean, you'll see when you taste it, it's very, very mellow. Actually, I won't give away all the characteristics. I'll let you sample it, Amanda, and see what you think. So yes, Nilgiri is down south, so the temperature is different, so tea tastes a bit different. Assam is northeast of India, and so the the temperature there is, it's grown in on sea level, so it is very hot and humid. And then Darjeeling is grown in the foothills of the Himalayas, so it's actually elevated. It's beautiful. They have colder weather, so the tea grows a bit slower, so it develops its own characteristics. And once again, depending on when you harvest the tea, whether it's summer, winter, or autumn or spring, the flavor profile differs. Darjeeling tea. That's a whole new session. Darjeeling tea, you can just talk about it forever. So yes, what we are sampling today is the second flush of Darjeeling tea, which is known for its muscatel flavor. So yes, did you have any questions or thoughts about just teas in general, black teas? Like what kind of teas, what kind of black teas are you used to?
I don't drink a lot of black tea. I think I probably drink primarily green and sometimes oolong, and maybe some pu'er. So I get probably a lot of Chinese teas for me. But I'm definitely learning a lot about black teas and how beautiful they can be and their flavor profiles. Yeah, are really lovely. I am interested to know about the cultivar for each of these teas, because I think Darjeeling's known for also having some of the Camellia sinensis varietal sinensis as opposed to the Assamica, but I know that, well, I think I know that it's not all China Bush in Darjeeling, is it? Do you know?
Yeah, so a bit of history for you.
Yeah.
When the British East India Company was in India colonizing, they of course wanted to stop the monopoly that China had over tea. So they sent a little spy to China to get the seeds and pluckings and the secrets from China. And so while they were doing that in the 1800s, there was another.
Sorry. Your time's nearly up in 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
Okay. So while that was happening, one of the people who lived, another botanist who lived in Assam, discovered that India already had a Camellia sinensis plant, a wild plant growing there. So that's why we have the Camellia Assamica, which is where all the Assantees, all the Assantees are from the Assamica plant varietal. And after years of experimenting and planting, they finally succeeded with the Chinese plant, which was the Camellia sinensis varietal. So Darjeeling has most of the sinensis varietal. I'm sure there's some hybrids as well. And then Nilgiri also is from the sinensis varietal. So they tried to, spread the tea seeds everywhere in India to see what works. And it took quite a few years, but Darjeeling took off and so did Nilgiri. And Assam had its original plant base. So the flavor profile of the varietal is very different. And then, of course, depending on where it's grown, it has other characteristics as well. So, so it took the British a while to get that going in India. And it's amazing when I share with my friends that, it was the British who introduced tea to India. They just can't believe it because, tea is such an Indian thing. People believe we, created it and we were the first ones. So, it is debatable because, the Indian wild plants, tea plants did grow in Assam. But yeah, it's very hard for Indians to admit that it was the British who kind of made it popular in India. So yes, there's a bit of history there.
Yes, they really pushed the the cultivation, didn't they?
Yeah, because they were so dependent on China for tea consumption. They wanted to have the power and they wanted to be able to control it. So they did really well for India. now we produce so much tea. So I'm just going to pour the Nilgiri. Actually, I pour all of them, and then we can see the color as well.
So Nilgiri has sinensis variety. That's very interesting considering the climate, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's why it tastes so different compared to Darjeeling. So even though Nilgiri has got the mountain range, but because the weather is so different, it's really, really hot. And they actually have 2 monsoons in a year, which is unheard of. So it's perfect for growing tea. So tea grows there, 2 months a year. And Darjeeling is, it's colder, and the climate is a bit different to down south, so it doesn't get that hot. It's so the plant, the sinensis plant just tastes a bit different, and you can't actually replicate that flavor anywhere else in the world. The Chinese plant grows Indian um, hill station. So it is absolutely beautiful. So we'll start with, I'll let you start and tell me what you think of the Nilgiri first.
Yes, I think it's just got a beautiful colour. I think I've put it up on the tea can, but I'll put it up here because I can see it better. And it's got a beautiful fragrance. But it's very gentle. You're right, for a black tea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very smooth, so there's no astringency or nobeness in the tea.
No, none.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know a lot of people drink black teas with milk, but for somebody who wants to go off milk, this is the perfect tea because it's not bitter, but it's still got all the flavors in it. It's got more of the fruity undertones, and if you do add lemon to it, just a slice of lemon, all the sweet out as well, and that's why they use it a lot for iced tea. So really, you don't need to mix any sugar or any syrup with it. Even if you just cold brew it and then put some lemon or orange or anything citrus, it tastes absolutely beautiful. I think for us moving towards summer now, I mean, in Gold Coast this week's been really, really hot. So it's the perfect tea to have.
Yeah, I could see how it really works as an iced tea. It's just got that beautiful. It's got its own sweetness, and you're right. It doesn't need anything extra. It just has its own beautiful sort of honey-like sweetness, and the fruitiness comes through.
Yeah.
And very refreshing as an iced tea. It would be lovely.
Yeah. And once again, very easy to cold brew. Just put if you're making a pitcher, so 4 teaspoons for 4 cups, and you put it in a glass jar and put it in the fridge overnight, so or 6 to 8 hours, and it'll be beautiful and ready for you in the morning. So iced tea can't get simpler than that. So you can just get ready for the day, even for work. Take a picture with you to work. So I simplicity with tea. So because for me the feedback I've got is people think loose leaf tea is very complicated, and I think it's all in the mind. It's not, and that's why I wanted to use different methods to make tea, because even if you don't have a strainer, you can still make tea, because the tea, once you brew it, it goes to the bottom. So you can still drink it if you really want to. There is a way. I just want to make it simple.
I completely agree.
Lots of debates in. Sorry.
I completely agree about the fact that loose leaf tea doesn't have to be difficult. I mean, it can get difficult and elaborate, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that's probably my biggest thing. That there are so many easy ways to brew tea that we should all be having loose leaf tea.
Yeah, I think it's all in the mind. I think earlier, I mean, back home in India, when I was growing up, we never used. I don't think tea bag existed then, but now when I go back, I see a lot of people using tea bags, and it just really hurts because that's not how we grew up drinking tea. And I think everything is becoming. I don't mean to blame the Western world, but everything is becoming very, very westernized, and everybody wants a quick fix. They think using tea bag is a quick fix, which it isn't. So for those of you watching, I think I would really recommend really time yourself. It's not complicated, really, and you get better quality tea, and there are no nasties, and drinking the real stuff. So whichever tea you drink, maybe even take it out of the tea bag and have a look at what it is, because the tea bag itself has got so many nasties in it. So yeah, it's something to for people to explore when they're ready, if they want to. So yeah.
Yeah,
So the
I
other
agree.
one, if you want to try, is the Royal Assam. So I want you to have a sip, Amanda, and see, because this is very different to the normal Assam tea that we are used to, like in our English breakfast or Irish breakfast, which is known for its really strong vast flavor. This is yeah, I'll let you try. I won't say much. Your notes. What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot, Amanda.
Yeah, you're testing me now. This is probably the thing I'm worst at.
Yeah. It's all you. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little bit more robust, but it's still got some delicateness about it. I don't know if that's because it's just from the single estate that you were mentioning, or maybe the way they've processed it a little bit more carefully than usual CTC or things like that. And I get that a bit of roasty smokiness almost to it. I don't know if you get that.
Yes. No, there's no wrong answer. It's what you taste. So it's all good.
But I mean,
Yes, okay, sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry. What would you say are the trademark flavor profiles for Assam teas?
So usually Assam teas are known for its robust, really strong flavors. But the one we are tasting now, the difference between that and Nilgiri, firstly, is the different varietal. So this is the Samika, Nilgiri was the Sinensis, and then even with geographically, it's northeast of India. So this is not in a mountain range, as Nilgiri is, it's called the Blue Mountains. So the weather is very different. Assam weather is hot and humid as well, but it's very different to the Nilgiri, the weather there. So because Assamika is known for the robustness of the flavor, you have the mellow honey caramel flavors as well, and there is a little bit of sweetness. But what happens is with the CTC, because it's cut, tear, and curl, so they're all machine processed. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's the process. And then it's known for a quick brew. So when you have your masala chai, you don't want to make masala chai with loose leaf, single estate tea leaves, because you won't get the kick that the masala chai has. So you need a really strong tea for a masala chai. Any kind of tea with condiments, the Indian tea, you need to use CTC. So loose leaf, I would say, you should enjoy it without milk, but there's nothing wrong in mixing milk if that's what you like, because it is quite mellow and you can really enjoy the flavor of the leaf. A lot of times people use milk because the tea is very bitter. So to balance it out, they put milk and then they put sugar, and then it just feels just right. And there are lots of theories about why people started putting milk tea. One was reading that people didn't want to stay in the China, so they used to put, with that black tea, they used to put milk. The other one is, of course, the tea is very bitter, so they wanted to put milk, and the one saying people couldn't afford to buy too much tea, so they would dilute it. So there are lots of theories, and even how masala started in India. I don't think we can drink or eat anything without condiments. Of course, we had to throw in the condiments and make it our own. But this tea, I would say, try it on its own. It's beautiful. It is it is strong. I think it's a nice, for me, it's a nice breakfast tea, even mid afternoon tea. So it definitely does give you that kick that you need in the morning. But but there's no bitterness. So yeah, that's what I think of this tea.
Definitely think it's a great breakfast tea. And I have one more theory about why they added milk and sugar.
Yeah.
It has to do with back in the day where only the nobility sort of was available. Like it was really, the tea was only available to the nobility and the higher classes. And I think I've heard it had something to do with the very long stretch between breakfast and dinner that the ladies had to wait. And so they brought in this sort of afternoon tea, and part of that was sort of making tea a little bit more heartier by adding sugar and milk and making it. I mean, I'm sure they then added lots of other foods and things, but I think in the beginning it was just adding a little bit of sustenance for the women while they were waiting to then be able to go down to the dinner hall and have their dinner later on.
Yeah, it is really amazing. When you look back and you hear all the stories, it's fascinating. Every country has got their own tea story, and the tea history is so fascinating in itself. So, yeah, as one of my friends, I said, you can't get bored of tea because there's so many different teas to try. You can't be bored of just one. You gotta just keep trying, keep exploring. Even with black teas or green teas, there's so many different ones. So I said that's what's exciting about tea. It's never enough.
Yeah.
I remember reading your questions on Instagram about, about how much tea is enough, or I can't remember exactly what it said, but sorry.
How much tea is too much?
Yeah, so for me, there's nothing known as too much tea. That's what I drink. I think more than water. For me, it's just tea. It's easier to drink. It's something that I think of more than water. So I do get my 8 cups in tea, or 8 glasses of water in tea.
Yeah. Well, good. That's great.
Yeah, and that's my theory. That's what.
I do want to go back to your masala chai, because you mentioned that it adds a lot of condiments, but I don't know what they are actually. So I would love for you to sort of tell me all about masala chai, because I think it's just so, there's a big part of Indian tea culture.
Yeah, so there's no one recipe for masala chai. So in India, every household has got their own concoction going. But normally you have, the normal mix, you've got cardamom, you've got cinnamon, you've got cloves, ginger, black pepper. So those are the normal condiments that really go in the mix. But, some people like more of cardamom than ginger. So it just depends. I think I might just close the window if you want to keep talking. I think our neighborhood dog is not in a very happy place. Close my window. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'll take this opportunity to remind everybody, if you've got any questions after we do the tasting a little bit more about Indian tea, we will be able to get into some questions if you have any questions for Bhamini or myself about Indian teas. So put your comments in the feed, and we'll sort of go through them a little bit later.
Yeah. So yes, as I was saying, every household has got their own little mix. I grew up drinking a ginger and cardamom mix in my chai, and so that mix just reminds me of home. But I've got my own masala chai mix, which has the cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and black pepper. So I grew up drinking masala chai, like milky, sweet masala chai. I mean, that was the only way we drank it back home. You know, there was no other way. But now I can't. I don't know. Maybe it's me getting old. I just can't digest the milk. So I've given up on the milk and the sugar. So I just have my masala chai black. To the horror of most of my aunties back home. You know, they think I've become a real foreigner. I'm not having milk in my masala chai, but that's how I like it.
So you will still add all of the spices. You'll just drink it without the milk and sugar.
Yes, so I have a mix of it already. So I've got black tea mixed with all the condiments. So I just brew like a normal black tea, and I have it without milk and sugar. So I don't know. I just can't digest it anymore. So sometimes I put maybe a dash of almond milk or oat milk, but not really, not too much. So yeah. And then anytime somebody finds out I'm from India, they think of masala chai. You know, that's not the only tea I drink. You know? So, yeah, it's the same thing with you know, people think I'm from India, so I do yoga. So yoga and masala chai is like. And I'm like, I don't do yoga. You know, I'm horrible at yoga. But yes, I'm learning. I'm learning a lot.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. So this year we've got the. Sorry.
Yes. The next.
So the last one. So it's hard to see the colors. There's very, very slight difference in the color of all the three. But I'd like to hear what you think of this tea.
I think this is very nice. I think.
Yes, as I was saying, you go.
Go.
You go. As I was saying, with Darjeeling, depending on when it's harvested, the flavor profile is very different. So the first harvest is May to June. So that's the start of the season. So it's the flavor is very, I think, quite close to green, but it does have the woody flavor in it as well. But it's very mild compared to the second one, which has got the muscatel flavor, which is usually associated with grapes. And for me, second flush the second harvest is my favorite. I just love the stone fruity flavors in it. And it's something, once again, I would recommend at least trying it without milk, because that's how it's supposed to be enjoyed. But for people who like the milk with teas, you know, of course, it's whatever you prefer. You can, of course, add milk. You can add milk to any black tea. But I always recommend, you know, trying it without, so you can really enjoy the flavors of the leaf. So and so once again, like comparing it to the Assam tea, it doesn't have it is the same. I mean, it is a black tea varietal, but the flavors are very different. I guess you'll be able to explain to everyone, Amanda, what you think.
I think it's really beautiful. I think you're right, the stone fruit come out, and it's a very delicate tea. So I think that it has it's just a beautiful complexity, and the muscatels And, you know, I would even say I feel like a tiny bit of woodiness as well. But just such a beautiful, delicate black tea. It almost doesn't feel like a black tea.
Yeah, and that's one of the main things that I want to introduce to people as well. Like, you know, black tea is not your standard English breakfast. That's not the only black tea. But when people think, you know, even when I talk about Darjeeling or Assam tea as a black tea, firstly, I think people can't differentiate between tea with milk and black tea, so they don't want to give it a go because they don't think that they are going to enjoy it because of the bitterness. So having a variety is it's basically just opening up your mind that there's more to black tea, you know. And I know like Chinese black tea is absolutely beautiful as well, and I really enjoyed that. So a couple of the workshops I've done is a comparison of, you know, different black teas from different parts. So, you know, like even your Lapsang Souchong and your Kimun, they're both black teas, but they're so different. And then you compare that to a Darjeeling or Assam, you know. So to say that you don't like black tea, I think it's a hard one because you haven't tasted it all. So I would recommend, you know, try different teas, not just black. Just, you know, don't let one green tea put you off to trying green tea because there's so many others around. And if you brew it correctly, you know, you will really get to enjoy it. So my recommendation is always to have an open mind, because maybe somebody who made you that green tea or black tea just didn't brew it correctly, and that's put you off. So
that's right.
You know,
especially if it was from a tea.
Pardon?
Especially if it was from a tea bag, the green tea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's amazing, you know. I think during COVID, people have become a lot more aware of their health and well-being, and they are more open to trying different things. So I came across a lot of people saying to me that, yeah, they know they need to be drinking green tea, like as if it's medicine, because it's good for them, but they just don't like it. You know, and I had so many people saying that. And I was like, yeah, but why do you have to drink it? And why don't you like it? So it's a good conversation because then you can actually find out what is it that's put them off, or what tea have they really tried. And a lot of people brew it just like a black tea. So no matter how good your tea leaves are, you're spoiling the leaf, you know. So there's so many different parameters to different teas that can, you know, actually ruin your tea or make it taste really good. But I chose the easiest one, the black teas. You can't go wrong. Super easy.
Yes, I really love how easy it is to brew. It's beautiful, and I think it's going to be part of my summer tea iced tea collection. I think definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well, I think we should probably round up now. I really want to say thank you for showing us all these teas. I've really enjoyed discovering them and learning about the different regions of India and kind of what they represent, and that even what we've seen is not all, you know, that's just a little taste, the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, in, black teas in India. But I really enjoyed going through these with you, and I thank you for your time and for joining us. And we will look at a Q&A after this, everyone. So if you want to leave your comments, if you've left any questions, we will have a little look at going through them shortly. And yeah, I wish everybody a good night.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been exciting sharing tea.
Thanks, Bhamini.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the brewing of the teas. We had a lot of fun brewing them, didn't we, Bhamini?
Yeah, it just seems like it was such a long time back. It was a lot of fun.
It was. We have a couple of questions here, so I think,
Yeah.
you know, we should get stuck into them and see if there's some more come up as we're chatting along. Kaishan from A Leaf Story asks, what is your favourite black tea?
I don't have favorites. It just depends on how I feel and on the day. So Indian black tea, I have a soft spot for Darjeeling second flush. Yeah, I just love the muscatel flavor. So, but then again, it just depends on how I'm feeling. But today, it's Darjeeling. How about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I really love the Nilgiri as well, actually, and I really want to learn a little bit more about what did you call it? The Blue Mountains?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd really love to learn a little bit more about that terroir and you know, how they grow the sinensis down there and what they do to keep it well in such conditions, because traditionally, you know, the Camellia sinensis variety, you know, didn't grow well in those conditions. So they've obviously made it thrive somehow.
I think it took a long time to get things right. And Nilgiri is actually known for the CTC teas, but they do have, of course, the orthodox, single estate teas as well. So it's, I think it's just lovely and it's just so mellow, so it's very easy to drink, that tea.
Yeah.
So, Kaishan, did you have a favorite amongst the three?
We'll have to wait for her answer.
Yep.
But we'll get on to the next question. And this is from Kirsten. Are there regional tastes in India? For example, are certain types of tea more popular in the north as opposed to the south and vice versa? India is a huge country, so I'm always curious.
I think the most popular tea in India is more the commodity tea, which is the CTC tea. And as I said earlier, with the condiments, everybody has their own concoction. So unfortunately, the single estate, the loose leaf teas are not so popular in India. They're more the commodity teas that are everyday tea. So there's no one particular. And in fact, I've enjoyed drinking Darjeeling tea a lot more being in Australia than I ever did in India, because most of the Darjeeling tea is exported. So it doesn't have that big a market in India. The C2C tea is everyday tea in every household, really.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So a lot of the Darjeeling's exported, and you mentioned the second flush is probably your favourite. What's the difference between, say, the first and the second flush in flavour profiles and things like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was watching the video, I realized I was so excited and nervous. I stuffed it up there. So the first flush, for those of you who are watching carefully, you would have picked it up. So the first flush is very light, and it's more towards the green tea flavor. It's very mellow, but and that is from between March and May. And then the second flush, which we tried, was May to June. And so the second flush develops the muscatel flavor. The first flush is known as the champagne of teas, and it is very expensive, and it's sold in auctions, and so it's the elite tea there. But everybody's tastes are different, so mine is the second one. And then you've got the autumn flush as well, and the monsoon, the one between. Some of it is also used in blends. So for me, I would say the first and the second flush are the more popular ones in Darjeeling, and which are more priced as well. So I do have Darjeeling first flush as well, but I think it's still very early for a lot of people to develop a flavor, a liking for that, because they're so used to black tea being strong and robust, and so I'm getting there slowly.
It's always a process, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Kaishan did answer. She said that she only got to brew the first two. The first one, so this must be the Nilgiri, tasted like a large leaf variety, which is interesting. And then the Assam was more peppery.
Yeah, so I think so. Then what you missed was the Darjeeling. So you've got to brew the Darjeeling as well. So yeah, so all three of them are very, very different. And as we discussed earlier, the Nilgiri one is very mellow and very light, and then moving up to Assam and then to Darjeeling. So yeah, I'm just going on about milk again. But for me, I don't think you need milk for any of the three teas because it's not that strong. It's not astringent. But even with the Assam ones, you can easily drink that without tea. But there are other Assam teas which are more robust, which are your very strong breakfast teas, and you can have milk with it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tea, Kaishan.
She did have another question, and she asked, different to Baroon's Assam, definitely. Would you say it is typical characteristics of an Assam black?
So I absolutely love Varun's Assam teas as well. And as he discussed in his BrewIN video as well, depending on how the tea is processed, the flavor can be different, where it's grown, the surrounding, the soil. So you can have robust Assam teas, or you can have more of a mellow flavor depending on the surroundings, really. So I wouldn't say there's a typical flavor, but yes, the robustness is there. The malty flavors are there in all Assam teas, which is very different to a Nilgiri tea. So I think those are the typical characteristics of the Assam tea. And the honey notes, the caramel notes as well. So
yeah, and the malty.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you mentioned that there was you were going to give some samples. If some, sorry.
So any tea you purchased, maybe for another week or so, will include 2 free samples. You can choose the samples, whether it's Nilgiri and an Assam, or Nilgiri and Darjeeling, whatever you'd like to sample. So I think it's a good way, to try different teas.
Yeah, it's a really great way to try, and you can do what we did, and you can try them side by side and see how you like different flavor profiles and things like that. So we'll post up a little coupon code somewhere, and then people that are watching and following BrewIN can get some free samples if they buy a tea from you. Yeah. Well, does anybody else have any other questions for Bhamini while we're here? Oh, here we go. It is tonight. Kirsten is asking, is tea drinking still popular amongst young people in India?
I think it still is. So when I last went back, I think back home, everybody drinks tea, but when they go out, they drink coffee. Because now you've got all the coffee chains there. But back home, everybody, when you're home, you're studying, you're doing things with friends, I think people still drink tea at home. It's really a part of our life, drinking tea, not masala chai all the time, but just tea in general, like black tea with milk. It's more the commodity tea that most households drink. So it's just a part of every day. It's not an occasion. It's a way to greet people when people come home. It's actually quite rude to say no to tea. So You know, whether you like it or not, you're going to get tea. So it's just in our custom, you know, to have tea when you're visiting friends or family. So yeah, I hope that helps, Kirsten.
And does is there much of a taste for other types of teas? You know, like importing teas from Taiwan or China or things like that.
I think it is getting popular now with other tea, especially green tea. Now that they are, you know, producing green tea and white tea, like Varun talked about, and oolongs as well. But I don't think that there's a massive demand yet. But at least people are testing the waters. So yeah. Sorry, I missed. Aisha.
That's okay. Kaishan asked, are there a lot of tea bags in the Indian market?
Yeah, I was quite surprised that they are now. I don't know what kind, but they do have tea bags now. But growing up, we never had tea bags. I'm sure Varun can vouch for that as well. Uh, you know, even though you know most households have the commodity tea, we never had tea bags. But as I said earlier, everything is getting westernized. We have all these massive international chains, you know, in India. So one of the influences of that is also getting tea bags in, and so yeah, unfortunately, it's happening in India.
So how was it when you brewed it at home? Did you just have it in a big packet and you put some in a saucepan or a kettle and brew it up with all the spices and?
Yes, so we used to, you know, boil water in a saucepan, and then you bring it to a boil, then you add your tea leaves, let it simmer, then you add your milk, and then you pour it for everyone. So, and if we had guests coming over, then, you know, your lovely teapot would come out, and then the tea would be. I used to love it because my mum used to get her fine china out and this pretty, you know, teapot out, and yeah, and it wasn't masala chai. It was just good tea that was
Yeah.
served in a lovely teapot. But back home, it was straight from the saucepan to your cups. You know,
Yeah.
and that's how most people drink it back home.
Yeah. It's a lovely way to share things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Kaishan wants to know, is there any bubble tea in India? Is that popular
I
over
have
there?
I haven't been back for a while, so I don't know. Maybe if Varun's still around, and maybe he can answer it. I haven't been back for maybe 7 years, so I don't know if that's the new trend, but it is picking up everywhere. So yeah, my kids just discovered it, and that's the new thing, you know. But yes, I don't actually know. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Baroon said, unless you work in a tea estate, but I can't remember what your comment to him was.
That most people drink commodity tea, maybe.
Oh,
That's what I think. Of
yes.
course, you are really spoiled, you know, living in a tea estate. So I'm talking about the commoners, Varun, like you know me.
Oh, well, I guess it's nice to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. I really
Yeah,
feel like we sort of had a
sorry.
good overview of India and its tea scene with you.
Yeah. And you know, for those of you who didn't ask questions, if you do have questions, please feel free to, you know, send me an email, or I'm happy to answer any questions
Yeah.
or help you in your tea journey. No problem.
Here we go. Kirsten said, Indian bubble tea, that sounds like fun. It should be a thing if it doesn't exist already.
I think I will have to Google it tonight.
Do you ever drink masala chai cold? Like, is it something you could have iced? Because I think it'd be quite
Yeah,
tasty iced.
yeah, yeah. You can have it iced, but in India we don't have it iced. Even when it's really, really, really hot, we like our tea hot, not cold.
Yeah, tea hot.
And
Because
sorry.
I don't know if this is the same in India, but my husband, who grew up in Malaysia, said, you know, because they eat a lot of hot curries and spicy food, and they're like, because the weather's so hot. And I grew up thinking, oh, if it's hot, you might eat a salad or have a cold drink. You wouldn't go for a spicy curry. But he said, no, you have to have it so then you sweat and then you get cool. Is that your mentality as well?
Yeah, because I remember living in KL and how hot it used to be. It's so humid.
Yeah.
And there used to be a certain time of the day when it used to rain every day, like
Yes.
really pour. And I think it's like when I do have tea, I like it really hot. Like I don't like it lukewarm. I have to have it really hot. And I think that's just from being Indian and just growing up having really hot tea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm one of those weird people who like hot drinks even when it's really hot.
I think you grow up with it, so it's just how you do it, isn't it? It's a comfort. So Kaishan said, I know Hong Kong uses a lot of Indian tea for Hong Kong style milk tea.
Yeah, and I think even in Malaysia, that forgetting the name, really sweet tea in Malaysia. What is it?
Tea tarik.
Pardon?
Tea tarik.
Yeah, so that is once again, you know, your Indian black tea. So yeah, but I think that you've got me thinking. I have to explore this bubble tea thing. Yeah.
It could be a new thing on the Gold Coast. You could do some iced bubble chai.
Nah, I just can't. It's just, it's like, for me, tea has to be tea. The same thing with matcha. You know how people like matcha lattes, and I just can't do it. It just, So it's fine. Everybody likes their tea differently. I just can't have a matcha latte or a matcha ice, whatever. So I didn't think I'd be able to have a masala bubble tea, you know. But it might be something good. If I have it without knowing it's tea, then, you know, I don't know.
Yes, you just got to think about it for what it is.
Yeah, it's just bubble tea.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit of bit of fun. Kirsten said her English grandmother insisted that hot drinks on a hot day actually cools you down. There you go.
I agree, because a lot of people have told me that too. I think scientifically there was an explanation, but I've forgotten what it was. But I remember when this lady did tell me about it, and I was like, there you go. See, I knew I was doing things right. So thanks, Kirsten, for bringing that up.
And Kaishan said, oh, well, your English grandmother was very wise, and that's what her Chinese doctor says. So I do know that the Chinese are very strict on having warm fluids, not cold fluids. Don't ask me the reasons why exactly, apart from that your body then has to take a lot of energy to process it, I think, and bring it up to temperature.
Yeah, I think there is an Indian, like Ayurvedic explanation to that as well, where they say, you know, it's good to have hot drinks with your meal instead of cold water or cold drinks. And as you see, most Chinese have the tea with their meals. So there are a lot of things we do not knowing why we do it, but we're doing it right. So there you go.
So in other words,
I think it's just culture, following culture. That's it.
We do things we don't know why, but it's good for us.
So the Indian and the Chinese culture, they're onto it. And even though we haven't questioned it, you know, we're on the right track.
Yes, and Kaishan agrees. She thinks there's a lot of shared theories between traditional Indian medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. So yeah. My daughter wants to come and say hello, but anyway. I think we're pretty good here to probably wrap it up. Is there anything else particularly you want to share, Bhamini?
No, I think it's just been really exciting just to share tea and, you know, to have a chat. So thank you so much for giving me the chance to have a chat and to share my passion and my love of tea. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I've really, really enjoyed chatting to you for our recording and tonight. I want to thank everybody else for joining us again tonight and all your questions. It's been really wonderful. Up next, for our next BrewIN TeaVee episode, we have Adeline Teo, and he's going to be on with Kaishan and discuss all things about the Australian tea culture. And Adeline knows a lot. She does lots of interviews with lots of different people, and she's definitely in the know. So that definitely will be a really good episode to catch as well. So that's next Saturday. And I will just quickly mention too, our meme giveaway on Facebook is ending at midnight tonight. So if you've got any tea memes, add them. You could win one of these beautiful tea thermoses, so you can take and go, and it makes tea, loose leaf tea, very easy, Bhamini. I'm sure you'll love that. But yeah, so that's our giveaway on Facebook, and yeah, we hope everybody enjoys has enjoyed this, and we'll look forward to Saturday with Kaishan and Adeline.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Amanda.
Right. Thanks, Bhamini. Bye.